That tooth in that scientist's hand is bigger than his entire fist. It belonged to something so massive, so perfect, so terrifying, that for 20 million years, nothing on Earth dared challenge it. Then, it vanished. Or did it? Here's what they told you. Megalodon is extinct, gone, dead for 3.6 million years. Case closed. Nothing to see. Move on. Here's what they didn't tell you. In 1875, a Royal Navy ship dredged teeth from the bottom of the Pacific Ocean. And when scientists dated them, some of those teeth came back at just 10,000 years old. 10,000 years. That's not ancient history. That's practically yesterday. That's cave paintings. That's early humans building the first settlements. The scientific establishment buried that story so fast, it would make your head spin. And that's just where this gets started. We have mapped only 26% of the ocean floor, the deepest parts of this planet. We know them less than we know the surface of Mars. So before anyone tells you with absolute certainty that Megalodon is gone, ask them this. Gone. Where? Exactly. Travel back 15 million years ago. The Earth doesn't look the way you know it. The continents are slightly wrong. The seas are warmer. Coastlines that will one day become deserts are underwater. And the ocean belongs to one animal, Otodus megalodon. This was not just a big shark. This was 20 million years of evolution arriving at a single, devastating conclusion. 60 feet long, possibly more. A body built like a great white shark, but scaled up to the size of a city bus, with a girth so massive that a full-grown human could stand inside its open jaws and not touch either side. Its teeth, up to 7 inches long, serrated like steak knives on both edges, replaced themselves continuously throughout its life. Researchers estimate a single megalodon may have produced over 40,000 teeth across its lifetime. 40,000. Its bite force was estimated at over 40,000 pounds per square inch. For reference, a lion bites at around 650, a great white shark at about 4,000. A saltwater crocodile, the most powerful bite of any living animal, 9,000. Megalodon bit down with over 4 times the force of the most powerful predator alive today. It didn't hunt, it executed. Its prey was whales, not small ones, full-grown prehistoric whales, 30, 40 feet long. Fossil records show whale bones with megalodon bite marks so deep, so deliberate, scientists can reconstruct the exact angle of attack. It came from below, always from below, rising out of the blackness at full speed, targeting the soft underbelly, the tail fin, disabling first, consuming second, patient, invisible, inevitable, for 20 million years, completely, utterly unstoppable. But here's something that almost nobody talks about. The blue whale, the largest animal that has ever existed on this planet. Not just alive today, in all of recorded natural history. Larger than any dinosaur, up to 100 feet long, up to 200 tons. And here is the part that stops most people cold when they first hear it. The blue whale only exists because Megalodon went extinct. Before Megalodon vanished, whale species could not afford to grow large. Think about what that means from an evolutionary standpoint. Growing large takes time. It takes generations of slow growth. You are vulnerable during that process. You are slower. You surface more. You need more food. If you are a whale living in a megalodon ocean, getting big is a death sentence. Size makes you a target, not an advantage. So whale species stayed relatively small, fast, evasive, because those were the traits that kept you alive. Then Megalodon disappeared, and the ocean changed in a way it had not changed in 20 million years. The apex constraint was gone. The evolutionary ceiling lifted. Suddenly, growing larger wasn't a liability. It was an advantage. More blubber meant warmth in colder waters. More mass meant you could travel farther between feeding grounds. Larger lungs meant longer, deeper dives. Without Megalodon policing the size of every creature in the ocean, evolution ran wild. And within a few million years, the whale lineage produced the single largest animal this planet has ever seen. The blue whale is not just a creature, it is a monument to Megalodon's absence. Every time you see footage of a blue whale gliding through open water, enormous, unhurried, unbothered, you are watching the direct biological consequence of an extinction event that happened millions of years ago. The ocean filled the vacuum. Evolution wrote its answer. And the answer was the biggest animal that has ever lived. So what killed it? That is the question that has consumed paleontologists, marine biologists, oceanographers, and, let's be honest, a lot of people who can't sleep at night. And the true answer is more layered, more brutal, and more instructive than the simple story you've been told. About 3.6 million years ago, the Earth shifted. The polar ice caps expanded rapidly. Global ocean temperatures dropped by several degrees. Warm, shallow coastal seas that had existed for tens of millions of years began to close off, cool down, and disappear. This wasn't gradual in the way we like to imagine geology. In Earth terms, it was a sudden lurch, a planetary gear shift, and Megalodon was not built for what came next. Here is the first crack in Megalodon's armor, and it is one most people completely overlook. Megalodon was likely warm-blooded, or at least partially warm-blooded, like modern great white sharks. That means it generated its own internal body heat, which sounds like an advantage, until you realize what it costs. A warm-blooded predator of that size needed a staggering amount of calories to maintain its body temperature. Scientists estimate Megalodon needed to consume the equivalent of a large whale, roughly every week, just to keep its metabolism running. That is not a predator. That is a biological furnace that needed constant fuel. When the oceans cooled, the whale populations it depended on migrated toward the poles, into cold water. Water that Megalodon, by its own biology, could not comfortably follow without burning through energy faster than it could replace it. The prey left the table, and Megalodon was left in a warming room, with an empty plate and a metabolism that would not forgive it. But it wasn't just the food supply. The cooling oceans triggered the collapse of something equally critical: the shallow, warm coastal nurseries that Megalodon used to birth and raise its young. We know this because of where we find Megalodon nursery sites in the fossil record. They are always in the same kinds of places: shallow water, warm, coastal, protected. Those environments, gone, cooled over, replaced by open, cold, deep water. Megalodon was not just being starved as an adult, it was losing the ability to safely reproduce. And then, a new threat. Not one that could kill a full-grown Megalodon directly, but one that didn't need to. The ancestors of modern orcas and other highly intelligent cooperative marine predators were rising during this exact same period. Megalodon pups, based on fossil evidence from nursery sites, were born at roughly 6 to 8 feet long, large by any normal shark standard, but not large enough to survive a coordinated pack of smart, social hunters that had just watched their competition for prey, literally starving itself out of existence. The young were being targeted, the adults were starving, the nurseries were gone. The prey was migrating beyond reach. 4 simultaneous crises, any one of them difficult, all 4 at once, unsurvivable. Megalodon didn't die in a single dramatic moment. There was no final battle, no asteroid, no disease. It died the way all truly terrifying things die. Slowly, quietly, and without anyone noticing until it was already over. One generation slightly thinner than the last. One breeding season slightly less successful. One migration that found nothing at the end of it. Until the last Megalodon on Earth swam through a cold, empty ocean, searching for prey that would never come. And then, silence. 1875, the HMS Challenger. This was one of the most important scientific expeditions in human history. A Royal Navy vessel repurposed entirely for ocean research, sailing for nearly 4 years, covering nearly 70,000 miles, dredging samples from the deep ocean floor in places no human instrument had ever reached. The expedition is remembered as the founding voyage of modern oceanography. But there is one discovery from that voyage that almost never gets mentioned in the official history. While dredging sediment from the Pacific Ocean floor, scientists aboard the Challenger pulled up Megalodon teeth. That alone wasn't shocking. Megalodon teeth are found all over the world. They fall to the ocean floor. They get buried in sediment. They last for millions of years. What was shocking was what was on those teeth. They were coated in manganese dioxide, a mineral that accumulates on the ocean floor at a very specific, well-understood rate. Scientists use manganese dioxide accumulation like a geological clock. And when researchers calculated how long it would take for that level of coating to form on those particular teeth, the number they got back wasn't millions of years. It was 11,000 years. Others came back at 24,000. Let that sink in. 24,000 years ago. Humans were already here. We were painting cave walls in France. We were crossing land bridges into the Americas. We were telling stories around fires. And if those dating estimates were accurate, Megalodon was still alive, swimming, hunting, in the same ocean we were fishing from. The scientific debate that followed was fierce. Some researchers argued the teeth had been disturbed, moved by deep ocean currents from older sediment layers, picking up a younger manganese coating that didn't reflect their true age. Others weren't so sure. The teeth hadn't just appeared in one location. They were found in multiple sites across the Pacific. And the dating methods used were not primitive guesswork. They were the same methods used throughout the rest of the expedition, with reliable results. The scientific consensus eventually landed on contamination and sediment displacement as the explanation. Megalodon, officially, was already long gone by the time those teeth were deposited. But here's what that consensus cannot fully explain. If the teeth were displaced from ancient sediment layers, why did multiple teeth from different locations, dredged separately, return similar anomalous dates? Why specifically did the accumulation pattern suggest recent exposure to the water column rather than long-term burial? No one has ever fully answered that question. The Challenger data was filed away, the debate went quiet, and the ocean kept its silence. 1918, Port Stephens, New South Wales, Australia. This is not a ghost story. This is a documented, formal report taken by a government fisheries inspector, a man named David Stead, who interviewed multiple experienced, professional fishermen after an incident that caused them to refuse to return to sea for several days. These were not nervous men. These were commercial fishermen who worked deep water their entire lives. Men who had seen sharks. Men who knew what the ocean looked like when it was being dangerous. What they described was something different. The fishermen had been hauling their crayfish traps, large, heavy pots in deep water, each one weighing several hundred pounds. As they worked, something began taking the pots, not tangling them, not damaging them, taking them. Entire crayfish pots, heavy, metal-framed, baited, pulled from the lines and swallowed whole, or simply gone. The fishermen described the animal as almost pure white, ghostly pale, moving through the water with absolute calm, as if the pots were no more significant than small stones being picked off a riverbed. David Stead recorded their testimony in precise detail. The fishermen estimated the animal at a length that Stead himself, in his own written account, described as almost impossible to believe, lengths that no known living shark species could explain. They described its head as appearing wider across than their entire boat. They described the water going completely still when it passed beneath them, as if the ocean itself was making way. The men refused to go back out, not for days. These were men whose income, whose livelihood depended entirely on going back out. They didn't go. David Stead was clear in his account. He believed they had genuinely encountered something that could not be explained by any shark species known to science at the time. He wrote that the experience had affected them in a way he had rarely seen in men of their experience. Was it Megalodon? Almost certainly not, probably. But an albino shark of genuinely extraordinary size, calmly eating several 100-pound crayfish pots like appetizers in the deep water off New South Wales? Something was there, something the ocean has not yet given us a name for. Now, we need to talk about the part of this story that keeps marine biologists and deep-sea researchers genuinely, professionally uncomfortable. The Hadal zones, the deep ocean trenches that exist far below any light, any pressure that surface life could survive, any depth that most research equipment can reach with any reliability. The Mariana Trench, the deepest point on Earth, reaches nearly 36,000 feet down. 7 miles of cold, crushing, pitch-black water. We have sent humans to its bottom exactly twice. Twice. We have sent humans to the moon 6 times. The pressure at the bottom of the Mariana Trench is over 1,000 times the atmospheric pressure at the surface. It is one of the most hostile environments on this planet, and yet life is down there. In 2023, a single deep-sea survey expedition off New Zealand cataloged over 100 species, never previously documented, in one trip, in one region of ocean. In 2020, researchers discovered a species of shark, the kite fin shark, glowing bioluminescent in deep water. This is a living shark species. We did not know it glowed until 2020. A living shark that glows that we did not know about. In 2019, footage from a deep-sea camera off the coast of the Pacific captured a blunt-nosed six-gill shark at depths rarely observed. A massive ancient species that exists almost entirely in the permanent darkness of deep water, largely invisible to science, and largely undisturbed by human activity. The deep ocean is not empty. It is full of things we have not found yet. And then there is the Bloop. In 1997, scientists operating the United States National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration's Deep-Sea Hydrophone Network, a system of ultra-sensitive underwater microphones originally built to detect submarines during the Cold War, picked up a sound. It was not a familiar sound. It was not a known biological sound. It was not a geological sound. It was an ultra-low frequency signal of extraordinary amplitude, meaning it was unimaginably loud, detected simultaneously by hydrophones over 3,000 miles apart. 3,000 miles. For reference, a blue whale, the loudest animal on Earth, produces sounds detectable at roughly 1,000 miles under ideal conditions. Whatever produced the Bloop was detectable at 3 times that distance. The official explanation, updated by NOAA in 2012, is that the Bloop was an ice quake. The sound produced by a massive Antarctic ice shelf fracturing and shifting. That explanation is scientifically plausible. That explanation has been accepted. And yet, the original analysts in 1997 noted that the frequency profile of the signal bore characteristics consistent with a biological origin. Not geological, biological. NOAA has since maintained the icequake classification. The scientific community has moved on, but the raw audio of the Bloop is still publicly available. You can find it tonight. You can put on headphones and listen to it in the dark. And when you do, when you hear that deep, slow, biological feeling moan rising from the deepest part of the Pacific Ocean, you will understand why some scientists in 1997 looked at each other across a monitoring room and went very, very quiet. The Bloop is almost certainly not Megalodon. Almost certainly. Today, what remains of Megalodon fits in museum display cases. Teeth, mostly teeth, because Megalodon's skeleton was made of cartilage, not bone. Cartilage doesn't fossilize. It dissolves. It disappears. The entire structural body of the greatest predator this ocean has ever produced simply dissolved back into the water it came from. All that remains are its teeth, scattered across ocean floors worldwide, washing up on beaches in North Carolina, in Morocco, in Indonesia, pulled from deep-sea sediment cores by research vessels that sometimes don't even realize what they've recovered until it's back in the lab. Children pick up Megalodon teeth on public beaches. Beachcombers in South Carolina find them in the surf after storms. Every single one of those teeth spent millions of years on the ocean floor, undisturbed, until the water moved, the sediment shifted, and the past came to the surface. Think about that. The next time you walk on a beach at low tide, what is underneath you is not empty history. It is inventory. Here is what mainstream science tells us. And to be fair, it is probably right. Megalodon was an apex predator of the surface and midwater ocean. It needed to hunt large prey. Large prey in the deep ocean essentially doesn't exist in the form Megalodon required. The pressure, the cold, the lack of the right food chain, it could not have survived down there. Its size meant it would need to surface. We would see it. We would find evidence of it in the stomach contents of other large marine animals. We would find recent teeth without the signatures of long-term burial. We don't. And yet, the coelacanth, a fish we declared extinct for 65 million years, was pulled, very much alive, from the Indian Ocean in 1938 by a fisherman with a net. We were completely wrong. For 65 million years, the giant squid, Architeuthis, was considered a sea monster myth, a sailor's hallucination, a creature of pure folklore. We did not capture the first photograph of a living giant squid in its natural habitat until 2004. We did not capture video of one until 2012. The second largest animal in the ocean, so large it has left sucker scars the size of dinner plates on sperm whales, was invisible to science until 14 years ago. We are not good at knowing what is in the ocean. we are not good at knowing what is in the deep ocean. We are spectacularly, embarrassingly bad at knowing what is in the deepest ocean. Megalodon is gone, almost certainly gone, but the certainty with which some people say that, given everything we have discussed today, should make you genuinely uncomfortable, because the ocean has surprised us before, and it has never once apologized for it. Megalodon died because the world changed, and it couldn't change with it. Its perfect design, 20 million years in the making, became its prison the moment the ocean it was built for stopped existing. It was not weak. It was not outcompeted in any fair fight. It was betrayed by geology, by a planet that simply moved on, and it left behind an ocean that to this day has never fully filled the space it occupied. Not really, not completely. The deep ocean is dark, it is cold, it is patient. It has existed for over 3 billion years without needing our understanding or our permission, and whatever it is still keeping down there, it has kept it longer than we have been here to ask questions. There's another animal on your screen right now. It ruled the land the way Megalodon ruled the sea. Perfectly designed, perfectly dominant, and then gone. Except scientists just discovered that the story of how it died is completely different from what you've been taught since childhood. Click it, because what they found in the fossil record last year changes everything.